Hello everyone, this is Saul Lopez again and trying to do the number 3 video, which is going to be about castling. Okay, let me remind you, please, if you could check out my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, okay, and it won't cost you any money. You just need a YouTube account and you will be receiving more information about some other videos that I will be doing about more advanced classes. Okay, so today we're going to talk about castling, which is a really important move in chess, and it's a little bit tricky. It has a lot of rules and a lot of things that you need to learn about it before mastering it. Especially for beginners, it's a little bit complicated, but even the experts and people who has a lot of experience with chess sometimes don't know everything about castling. So I'm gonna be reading some points that I wanna talk about, and I will be marking them down, so please bear with me. So first of all, castling, it's a move that it's done with the king and the rook. Okay, of course we have to move these two pieces first because we have to move the king 2 squares to the right and the rook 2 squares to the left. Okay, so let's say these guys are something like this, then we would just move like that. Okay, this is the only move where you can move 2 pieces. Okay, there are some people that think that moving these 2 guys at the same time it's a legal move, but it's not. It's an illegal move, and I've seen it. I placed a guy who moved these 2 pawns at the same time, grabbed one with just each hand and moved it, and said that that was a legal move. But I told him no, but he insisted, so we kept on playing, and he didn't know much about chess, so I won the game pretty easy. Okay, so but in tournament they won't let you do that. The only move where you can move 2 pieces is castling. Okay, so there is what it's called the short castle, which is the one we just saw, and the long castle, which is the one that would do to the left. Okay, so again we move 2 squares, and in this case we move the rook 3 squares. Okay, but it ends up next to the king anyways. Okay, another thing that you should keep in mind, or you should know, is that this is called short castle and this is called long castle, but this one is also called the king side castle because this is the side of the king. From E to H is the king side, from D to A is the queen side. So the long castle, it's also called the queen side castle. Okay, good. Now another thing that you must know is that castling can be done only if the king hasn't moved yet. So let's say that you have the possibility to castle, but you decide to move your king. Okay, and black moves whatever, and then you come back. So even though you're in the same position, you have your pieces in the same position for castling, you cannot do it anymore because you already moved the king. Okay, so whenever the king moves, you lose your ability to castle. Same thing if you move the rook. Okay, so if you move the rook, then you cannot castle king side anymore, or short castle. You would have to move these pieces and castle queen side. if you want to castle. Okay, nice. So another thing that we need to learn is you need to touch the king first. Okay, so here you can castle, right? But if you touch the rook, they might want you to move the rook, and as we saw before, if you move the rook, you're not longer able to castle. Okay, so don't touch the rook first, touch the king. Although if you move it 2 squares, then no problem. I don't think anyone is gonna complain if you move it 2 squares, but just to be safe and to be sure about what we're doing, grab the king first, move it 2 squares, and then move the rook. Okay, good. There are other circumstances where you cannot rook castle anymore, and that is when the king is in check. So let me show you this position right here. Okay, so if the king is in check right now, it would be nice to just move the rook, right? But I mean move the king, right, and castle, but it is against the rules. You cannot do that. Now if you block this guy with your bishop and he takes, and then you take, then you can castle. Of course it's not moving right now, but now you can castle. Okay, nice. Now another situation where you cannot castle is if the king is gonna go through castle. Okay, so in this case, if I try, it's white to move, but if I try to castle,
the castle would move the king through a check by the bishop
the
on
computer
b5.
says that it would move the king through check, and that it's illegal. It cannot be done. Okay, nice. Even though the king is not going to be in check, but it's gonna go through check, so you cannot do that. Now we said that if the king was in check or attack, we cannot castle, but if the rook is attack, then the castle can be done, like in this case. See, this bishop is attacking the rook, but we still can castle. Okay, so that's another rule. If the rook is being attacked, you can still castle. Now remember that the king cannot go through check, but the rook can go through a square that is, so let's say that white hasn't castled, and this queen is attacking this square right here, right? So if we castle right now, the rook is gonna go through that squares, but it doesn't matter. It is perfectly legal. Okay, so let's say this guy is right here and this guy is right here. So now things change a little bit. Why? Not because you cannot castle, you can castle, but the problem would be that if you castle, queen can now come here and checkmate the king, right? So remember that the rook can go through castle, but not the king. Okay, I mean through check, I'm sorry. The rook can go through a square that is being attacked. Okay, good. Now remember that if the king has been checked but it didn't move, you can still castle. Okay, so it's something I have written right here. Now there are games that can be played where the player is super strong. Let's say an international master or an expert against a total beginner. Can tell them, okay, let's play, but I'm gonna take my queen off the board. That is called handicap game. So black can play with all its pieces, and let's see, the game is not gonna have any problem, right? Because this is done if the opponent wants to give advantage to the other opponent because he feels he's super strong, right? Okay, but you can give a handicap of 1 pawn, 2 pawns, all the pawns, a knight, bishop, whatever you want to give, that's okay. Okay, but let's say that the handicap is a rook. Okay, so in this case the game, you know, will go as normal, right? But when they get to this position, okay, let's say they play something like this, white can steal castle even though there is no rook to move, but white can steal castle, moving 2 squares, and then the rook won't come here because it's not there, but white can do this if white wants to. Okay, so now the recommendation is castle quick. Okay, remember that, especially if you're a beginner. Castle quick. Why? Because let's look at this. Let's say the game goes like this, something like this. So white plays there. So nobody's trying to castle. So look at that. See, the king is already being attacked, right? Although white can block it, right? But this is some random moves that I did just to show you something. But if you leave your king in the center, it can be in a lot of danger, especially if one is already castled and the other one is not. Why? Because now white could bring this rook here, and if black takes, see, he could put his bishop here, but then white could bring the knight here, and this here, and this here, and look, white, if this guy moves, then black can lose that pawn, and if black castles, now it will lose a piece. So these pawns right here tend to disappear very quickly in some openings and in a lot of games. So castle quick, that is the recommendation. Now another thing is you should castle for quick, right? But you should try to stop your opponent from castling. Okay? So in this case, you can see the queen is attacking here, so the king can move and castle. No short castle and no long castle because the bishop is attacking here, right? Okay, so try if you can to stop your opponent from castle. Okay. One other thing is that something really good about castling is not only that it protects the king from attack, like we saw before, but it also brings the rook closer to the center where it will be more active for the same reason we discussed before. These pawns are going to disappear, right? And the rook can come here and attack. And even if the king has castle, right? See, this rook is attacking here. So say it goes here, then he goes here, and again, if we bring the knight or attack something else. But remember that castling brings the rook closer to the center for you to use. Okay, so now we should always try, let's see this from the black's perspective. Okay, so let's say something like this. Let's play. Okay. So this is the Caro-Kann defense, but I mean the moves are not, they're different variations. So this is the advanced variation, the Caro-Kann defense. You can see right here. Okay. So now let's say the game continues something like this. Okay. Just suppose, right? Okay. So now black is ready to castle, right? But if you take a look at the board, white's pieces are kind of like leaning this way, attacking on this side, right? So you have to consider
That's not your piece.
what side is better for your king to go to, right? So now black has the opportunity to castle queen side or king side, right? But if this queen comes here, for example, something like that, and this bishop comes here, and this knight comes here, and then here, and then here. See, all the pieces are gonna be on, all of white pieces are gonna be on this side, so it would be a good idea to consider if you could castle to the queen side. Although this is a little bit dangerous, because let's say the queen wasn't here, but it was here, something like this. This pawn, if you castle queen side, this pawn would be kind of like alone, right? It is easy to defend because you could advance it in case this knight comes here and attack, or you can move the king. But it also leaves the king close to the center, and see the pawns are already disappearing, so it's a little bit close to the center and it might be dangerous. So it's said that the short castle is safer than the long castle. Okay, and but one of the good things is that the rook is already on the D column and it's ready to start attacking. Let's say something like this happens, right? See, let's say this guy takes here and something like that, you know? So now can attack, right? So, and the rook is going to be free to move here and go wherever the rook wants to start attacking some of white pieces or even the king. Okay, so that is one of the good things about long castling, but you always have to consider what side is safer and what side would be better for you to castle. Okay, although this rook should not go there because it would be taken by the knight, right? But we're just doing crazy moves just to prove a point. Okay, that you should always pay a lot of attention. Where are you going to castle? What side you're going to choose? Okay. Now, another point that I want to talk about is that the long castle takes a little bit longer, right? So we can see here in 4 moves white is castle, but for black it's gonna take a little bit longer if he wants to castle queen side, right? Okay. Takes a little bit longer, so always be aware of that short castle is safer and quicker. Okay, so especially for beginners, you should always try to castle quick, right? We already mentioned that. So short castle is quicker, but always consider if it's safe enough or if it's better than castling queenside. One other thing that I want to talk is that let me see if I have here this right here. You see this position right here? It's very similar to the one we had right before, but black has castle queen side and white has castle king side, right? So this is called opposite castling. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's how it's called in English, but in Spanish that's what it's called, opposite castling. So it really means that they're on opposite sides, right? Black is on the queen side, black is on the king side. And this is important because in this kind of castlings, black is going to try to break through the king side, and black is going to try to break on the queen side. And by break I mean going something like this, advancing the pawns and attacking.
You can only move your own pieces.
Black pieces, and if black can save them, see pretty soon.
You can only move your own pieces.
See pretty soon. See now the rook can penetrate and the queen can come on or whatever, you know. But white is gonna try to break with the pawns on this side and try to attack. Meanwhile, black is going to try to let's see here. Meanwhile, black is going to try to attack on the other side. Let's say white plays something like this, right? So now black could go something like this, right? Although the white could take right now, but we're just supposing, right? Supposedly, right? So and then try advancing these pawns and breaking this. Of course, in this position it looks like it's a little bit better for white to get it done, but you know, when you castle on opposite sides, usually it's a long fight with your pawns on opposite sides. That's something you should keep in mind when you're playing your games. Okay? Now, the last thing I'm gonna be talking is called artificial castling. Okay? And let's say a game goes like this. See, now this queen can be taken, right? So now the king has moved and we know that it has lost its opportunity to castle. So let's flip this board, right? So it has lost its opportunity to castle, but it can still kind of castle. It's gonna take several moves, but it can be done in a different way. So let's say the game goes kind of like this. So see, now white is being smart and taking the king away from the center, because after this guy moves, the rooks can come here and start giving white some trouble. So after this rook has moved here to protect the knight, now the king can come here or here, and it would be kind of like if it did castle. Okay, so it's kind of like an artificial castle. Okay, so that is an option you should always keep in mind whenever you are in a position where you lost your ability to castle. Remember that keeping the king safe is one of the main objects of the game, right? Because if you don't, then you're gonna lose the game. Okay, so that is it for today. I hope you liked the video, and please let me know what you think. Leave some comments, suggestions, questions, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And please be polite. No insults or cussing or bad words or anything like that. You know, let's just try to help each other and get better at chess. Thank you very much, and have a good one. Bye bye.